This is the story of how an animated movie about a robot falling in love and a forgotten comedy from the creator of Beavis and Butthead are the two most important movies in protecting the future of humanity. On the surface, Wall-E and Idiocracy may seem completely different, yet at their core, they are prophetic warnings about the future of our civilization. At their release, they seemed nothing more than silly farce and fabrication. Now, in 2025, they are beacons of warning about where the future of our civilization is heading. Let's start with Wall-E, a 2008 Pixar movie about a little robot that longs for love. In a distant but not so unrealistic future where mankind has abandoned Earth because it has become covered with trash from products sold by the powerful multinational By and Large corporation, Wall-E, a garbage collecting robot, has been left to clean up the mess. Mesmerized with trinkets of Earth's history and show tunes, Wall-E is alone on Earth except for a sprightly pet cockroach. One day, Eve, a sleek reconnaissance robot, is sent to Earth to find proof that life is once again sustainable. Wall-E falls in love with Eve. Wall-E rescues Eve from a dust storm and shows her a living plant he found amongst the rubble. Consistent with her directive, Eve takes the plant and automatically enters a deactivated state except for a blinking green beacon. Wall-E doesn't understand what has happened to his new friend, but true to his love, he protects her from wind, rain, and lightning, even as she is unresponsive. One day, a massive ship comes to reclaim Eve, but Wall-E, out of love or loneliness, hitches a ride on the outside of the ship to rescue Eve. The ship arrives back at a large space cruise ship, which is carrying all of the humans who evacuated Earth 700 years earlier. The people of Earth ride around this space resort on hovering chairs, which give them a constant feed of TV and video chatting. They drink all of their meals through a straw out of laziness and or bone loss, and are all so fat they can barely move. When the autopilot computer, acting on hastily given instructions sent many centuries before, tries to prevent the people of Earth from returning by stealing the plant, Wall-E, Eve, the portly captain, and a band of broken robots stage a mutiny. In modern times, human consumption is at an all-time high. With production technologies at levels never before seen, we are as consumeristic as ever. We buy and buy and buy and throw away with no regard for where all this trash is going. And with companies like Amazon that are pursuing complete monopolization of all industries, the parallel with By and Large is all too familiar. Foods are as unhealthy as ever, and humans consume at rates never before seen. With automation quickly evolving, removing much of the hard work from a human's daily life, humans will become less and less suited to handle real life and eventually will do nothing but hover around and become obese. With body positivity initiatives in our society, we have painted a narrative that being obese is healthy. Of course, people dealing with obesity deserve nothing but sympathy and kindness. But spreading a narrative that this is a normal or healthy lifestyle is a blatant lie. It's easy to believe that most of these initiatives are funded by massive corporations that simply want humans to continue to consume their products with no regard for their health. Our dopamine systems have been hijacked by social media, unhealthy foods, and consumerism. The fictional future depicted in Wall-E becomes more and more realistic by the day. And then we have Idiocracy, a 2006 comedy made by Mike Judge, the creator of Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill. The story of a painfully average man named Joe who is dropped into a future where his mediocrity shines as being outstanding compared to their future standard. Officer Collins has been spearheading one of the US Army's most secretive experiments to date, the Human Hibernation Project. If successful, the project would store its subjects indefinitely until they are needed most. Their first test subject, Joe Bowers, was not chosen for his superiority. Instead, he's chosen because he's the most average guy in the armed services. But scandal erupts after the experiment takes place, the base is closed, and the president denies any knowledge of the project. Unfortunately, Joe doesn't wake up in 1 year, but in 500. During that time, human evolution has taken a dramatic downturn. After waking up, Joe takes a prison-assigned IQ test and finds that he's the smartest guy alive, awaiting a full presidential pardon if he can solve one of the country's biggest problems, the dwindling plant population. Joe races against time to solve this problem, but he alienates half the country in the process. Similar to Wall-E, we see a society that has leaned so heavily into technology that they completely lost their way. Both in Wall-E and Idiocracy, social media, lowbrow entertainment, and consumerism has dominated the dopamine circuits in humans' minds. The very first thing that Joe sees when he awakens from his pod is content. Similar quality content to what dominates platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Hot chicks and hot dudes, and a show that's simply about people getting kicked in the nuts. This isn't very far off from the fitness influencers, OnlyFans peddlers, and prank pages that occupy unlimited screen time across the nation. Water has been replaced with energy drink companies. Similarly to WALL-E, the entire planet is covered in trash. And similarly to WALL-E, a large part of the plot centers around saving plants. Today, nature is becoming less and less abundant. Deforestation to make way for consumer materials or to make way for apartments, houses, or storefronts is happening at alarming rates. There are islands of trash covering much of the ocean. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, located between California and Hawaii, is estimated to be twice the size of Texas, a whopping 1.6 million square kilometers. Yet we never are told to be concerned about this on any major news platform. Out of sight, out of mind, right? This is no coincidence. Major corporations fund much of our news, so any news that would damage sales is news that never gets broadcasted on major platforms. Life imitated art very quickly with Idiocracy because Fox sabotaged their own release of this movie due to its damning depiction of companies like Fox and many of their affiliated corporate juggernauts. There's a very important concept to understand about the consumeristic nature of how our country operates. It's a complex system, but can easily be shown through this triangle. Humans consume, which generates countless billions for companies. Then, when they inevitably fall into bad health, they go to the doctor, which generates billions for the medical industry. Then, the doctor recommends and prescribes them pharmaceuticals, which help treat their symptoms without fixing the underlying problem and generates billions and billions and billions for these big pharma companies. So the consumer goes back to consuming and the cycle continues. All parties get unbelievably wealthy at the expense of the consumer. And it's why we do not see major awareness through society about this cycle. Not only that, but life is hard. So humans naturally seek escapism. Not too long ago, escapism was found in the form of a good book, a good movie, or a nice relaxing escape into nature. Today, reading is at an all-time low, movies are at an all-time low in quality of storytelling, and escaping to nature is at an all-time low and simply not feasible for many people who are city-locked. Humans are locked into a vicious dopamine cycle of wanting to escape reality and getting a quick fix of dopamine from pornography and social media. The truth is, nature is where humans evolved. It's a human's most natural environment. Science supports that our cortisol levels, the hormone related to stress, reach all-time lows when we're in nature. The smells, the sounds, the sights, all activate very innate and primitive circuits in our brain to bring us down to a calm and healthy baseline. It is why both Idiocracy and WALL-E are centered around trying to preserve plants. It is more important than ever to break these dopamine cycles and to stand up to these corporate overlords, which is tough considering almost half of our country are employed by large companies. But we can all do a part in combating these bleak futures depicted in these two films. Spend more time in nature. Put your phone down and break your addiction to mindlessly scrolling. Don't support low-effort filmmaking and only go pay to see movies that seem like they are actually trying to add quality to the world. Stop consuming and throwing away so much plastic. Be kind to those around you. Be aware that we are the masters of our own destinies and that only we, the citizens, can prevent the futures that WALL-E and Idiocracy are warning us about. This is no joke. This is very serious. Now is the time. The most disturbing thing to me, and it should be the most disturbing thing to everyone else, is the effects that these current times are having on our children. The youth in our nation want to be streamers and entertainers. They idolize morons on TikTok. They are exposed to sexuality too early. OnlyFans is considered a legitimate job, and people pretend sex work is dignified. Real jobs are becoming less and less desirable. We need to hold companies accountable, stand up, and protect the future of humanity. Don't be complicit in our downfall. This is why Idiocracy and WALL-E are the two most important movies for the future of humanity. If you love movies and enjoy this content, subscribe to my channel. Leave me a like, leave me a comment. I love talking to you in the chat. And as always, stay tuned for the next video. Tay out.